We're too enthusiastic about things. We do things without consulting God. And many times we fail. I just want to read a passage. In Philippians, it says this: do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, present your request by prayer and petition with thanksgiving. Present your request to God. There you go. We can learn from that. And then it says, when we do that, and the God of peace, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. Sometimes we're a bit stubborn. We think we know better than God. And so, folks, we need to come to God, especially when you're depressed. What happens when you're depressed? You're sad. You're lonely. But you know what? When you pray to God, what happens after that? You feel a bit better. Is that right? You feel a bit better. When you're sick, and when you know that people are praying for you, how would you feel? Much better. Because there's something about prayer. Number 2, folks, don't allow fear to stop you. God will enable you. Maybe you are fearful about going to the next level where you, in your studies, in your work, even in your relationship. Here, Nehemiah said to the king, I was very much afraid. But I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruin and its gates have been destroyed by fire? You know what I like about Nehemiah? He wasn't afraid to admit his fear. But what I admire about Nehemiah, he refused to allow fear to stop him of what God has called him to do. And whatever God has called you to do, don't allow fear to intimidate you. That's saying you're not good enough, you're nothing, you're not capable of doing it. And sometimes people will say, if people only knew my past. Well, God knows your past. Maybe some people don't know your past, but God knows your past. And when Moses made an excuse, God knew his past. But God says to Moses, I will enable you. And you know, Moses makes a lot of excuses, and God says, no, I will enable you. He knows his past. And there's so many characters in the Bible that their past are haunting them, and yet God says, I will enable you. And maybe God is saying to you today, don't be afraid. I will enable you. Maybe some of us are willing to be used by God. And say, Lord, I am willing, but this fear is really stopping me. Maybe in the back of your mind, you're saying, I'm not well educated enough. I'm not eloquent enough. I'm not qualified. All God is asking is this question: am I willing to take that chance? Like Nehemiah did. He did not allow his weaknesses to interfere of what God has called him to do. Are you listening? You see, with a little time to think, Nehemiah prayed. And he knew that God is always in charge. And God is always in control in every situation. He is in control even in your own life. And whatever darkness you're facing right now, you're going to see blue sky one day. And all He asks of you is reach out to Him. That's why my encouragement to you, brothers and sisters, we need to develop our prayer life. Number 3, we need to be specific when you pray. That's what Nehemiah did. You know, there was a woman that is my close friend before I left Philippines. She was in the 40s. I still remember, we've been friends for 20 years. And she always say, Don, I'm out of the calendar. And now, I'm no longer 30s now, I'm in the 40s. But I still have the desire to meet a godly man so that we can serve the Lord together. So can you pray for me, please? Well, let's pray. I said, you pray, ask God. We used to go to the mission together. And she prayed and prayed. After 2 years, the Lord had met this guy. So within 6 months, they got married. She was overjoyed. And then, within a few months, she started complaining. And she said to me, I didn't realize that he didn't have a real hair. He got false teeth as well. I said, what did you pray to God? Well, I prayed, Lord, give me a godly man. So He's giving you a godly man. But you were not specific. It sounds funny, isn't it? But it's true. You know, it's true. You know, when I prayed to God, I was specific. I said, Lord, give me a woman who's going to help me with the ministry. And I said, bang, 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 bang. But I didn't realize it's from Australia. I thought I'm going to marry a woman who's got black hair as well. There's a saying, you can't get everything, isn't it? So we need to be specific. Have a look at verse 7 and 8, folks. He said, I also said to him, it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governors of Trans-Euphrates so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. Why? Because he knew that whenever all these supplies are going to be dangerous for him to be alone. The insurgency is all over the place. Not only that, in verse 8, what did he say? And may I have letter to Asaph, a keeper of the lower park, so that he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel, by the temple, for the city wall, and for the residence I will occupy. Wow. He took every opportunity, didn't he? And so what happened? God had provided the things he needs. I suppose the question I'm going to ask you this morning is there a task God wants you to do, but fear is holding you back? And after Nehemiah prayed, asking the king permission to go to Judah, and as soon as he's given a positive answer, he now continued to ask him for another help. You know, sometimes when we have needs, or whatever great needs, we hesitate to ask the right people. Because we are afraid to approach them. And you know, the best way you can approach is the one who knows you best. God knows you best. He knows your heart. He knows your pain. He knows what you've been going through. Nobody else like